In my last upload, I finished a video basically in this office telling you a story of an interaction I was having with a customer that would not take a phone call, did not want to come in, wanted everything in writing via text and email. And a lot of you looked for an update on that story. So this is the update. Currently, we are 5 days later, and I've been completely ghosted since this gentleman got the information he wanted from me. Now, when we were texting back and forth, I would respond, he would respond. The dialogue was going back and forth in both text and email. We sent him everything he wanted, the out-the-door numbers. We were very clear, very transparent. And again, we were doing that in an effort to hopefully earn his business because we were the fourth furthest store from his house, meaning we're the least convenient for him to come to. So really the only way, in my opinion, we're going to earn his business is by being very upfront, very transparent, very easy to deal with. And we're going to stress the fact that we only have one dealer fee, which is our documentation fee of $3.99. I mentioned that fee because the industry these days is a fee-based type of profit center, right? If there's 4 Chevy stores and he's looking at the same priced Chevy tracks at every store, realistically, these deals are going to be very, very close to each other. So what makes the difference? Well, the fees and the dealer options, your experience, that sort of stuff is what makes the difference. Now, what I decided to do right before I started filming this little segment here was I went on the other 3 websites for the 3 dealers that are closer. The closest dealer to him, which I think was like 3 or 4 miles away, has a $12.95 doc fee and a $75 electronic processing fee. So $13.70 added to their deal. We're $3.99. The second dealer closest to him, which was, I think, same thing, 4 or 5 miles, has a $999 doc fee. Again, we're $399. It's $600 less. The third dealership, which was like 11 or 12 miles away, did not list their doc fee on their website, so I don't know what it is. Now, that's our doc fee. I think there's some sort of a law in New Jersey where you have to advertise your doc fee. That's why most websites will have it listed. What you don't have to advertise is dealer added options. Pinstripes, storage guards, mud flaps, Scotch guard protection, environmental packages, like all the nonsense you see on those addendums. That does not have to be disclosed. So we don't know if those dealerships actually had those items as well. So again, I hope that when I'm quoting my customers and I explain this stuff up front and they're doing their shopping at multiple stores, they'll see these things like a $12.95 doc fee and say, well, hey, wait a minute, that's a lot more than Dave's. Is the vehicle price that much less to offset that? And in most cases, when we quote our numbers in this situation, I find it very hard to believe that the differences are that much because especially something like a Trax, there's not a ton of profit in these vehicles. So if we're all doing something very equivalent to earn someone's business, it's the fees and it's the extra added options that really make the difference. And we know we're on the low end of that. So I'm not exactly sure why this gentleman, ghosted me after he got everything he wanted. In my opinion, there's a couple of different reasons why. One, maybe he's just trying to keep his local dealer honest. He goes to a local store that maybe he deals with a lot. He knows the fees, he knows all the stuff. He just wants to make sure that they're not doing anything too crazy. Or maybe he went with a different brand. Maybe he was shopping multiple vehicles, not just Chevrolets, and he went with a different brand. The one thing I can say is, at least respond. Since we had that good dialogue going, basically the next morning, which I believe was Saturday morning, I had reached out and just said, hey, listen, are you looking to visit our dealership today? I know you were getting multiple quotes, just curious how you're making out. Got no response. On Monday, I reached out via text and email. Hey, listen, how's your shopping going? Just want to see how I could help. I got no response. Our BDC rep reached out twice and left 2 voicemails with no response. This is where some salespeople can get frustrated with customers because here it is, you do the work, you do what the customer's asking, you give them what they want, and then what happens in the end? They just forget about you. They don't even give you the decency to say, hey, listen, I bought the car somewhere else. Or, hey, listen, thank you very much for what you provided for me, but I'm going to a dealer closer to home. Why are some customers afraid to just tell the truth? It is the truth of what happens. Or do they just think the dealership doesn't deserve the truth? Who knows? I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to text them again today to see what's up. We hit our little text icon here and we're going to say, hey, I hope all is well. I haven't heard back from you. Send. Let's see if he responds to this. The one thing I noticed too, like when you text, you have to text like random stuff, right? Because if you try to text in like a professional manner, like this is Dave B at Schumacher Chevrolet of Livingston, and we talked about numbers and you do all that sort of stuff, you generally don't get responses as frequently if you just said something like how you would text your friends. Like if the guy's name is Bill. Hey, Bill, what do you think? Hey, Bill, did you find a car yet? Because they might not remember or see that text feed in their phone. Maybe they deleted it, whatever the case may be that you had prior, and it prompts people to say, who is this? And then once you do that, maybe you can get some dialogue going. All I'm trying to do in these situations is save people from paying too much on doc fees. I'm back. I already got an answer. The gentleman has an appointment set up on Saturday at a dealership whose numbers were significantly lower. So I just asked how much is significantly. I also said, make sure you ask about the fees. I checked the 2 stores closest to you. One has a $9.99 doc fee, one has a $12.95 doc fee. We are $3.99. Again, we're talking about a Chevy Trax here. How much different in price can we be if every dealership pays the same for the car, the rebates are the same, everything's the same, Chevy to Chevy, the difference is in the fees, and we know we're lower there. So is the customer being truthful with me, or is the customer just saying things, keywords like significantly lower, without giving any kind of an idea or a number of what that deal is? And then you got to look at the other dealership and how they're quoting and what are they leaving out. I compete with dealers all the time based on customers that come in to see me that do not quote with tax and fees. They give you a number on the car, and then when you get there, it's how do you want to handle your tax and fees? And then once you're there and you've been through the process and you're tired of buying a car and you're tired of shopping, a lot of people will assume, that's true. Well, the other dealer is probably plus tax and fees as well. Whereas we quote with all that stuff included. He just texted back now you can get a 2026 2RS, which is a more expensive vehicle. 285. We were at 337 on the 26. They're 285. That's $52 a month difference. Right now we're $1,800 apart. To be fair, he's saying 2,800 down. We were doing 25 down. So subtract 300. So right now, apparently he's got a deal on a more expensive vehicle, $1,500 better than what we quoted the other day. This is where I have to assume, and I'm going to check with Sal, we're going to relook at the numbers and just make sure we're doing what we can do, which it's not a huge process to do this. I mean, you plug numbers in the computer and it spits out a payment in a matter of seconds once you put everything in. Just make sure that we have everything where we're comfortable and send it over. But to be $1,500 apart, something's missing. He then also texted and said, if you can beat that, I will cancel my appointment and see you Saturday. It's a tough position for us because we're in a position where you're just taking what the customer is telling you and you're assuming it's truth. So I posed the question to you as a consumer. Have you ever told the dealership an untruth? Have you ever, hit him a little bit lower than what maybe the quote was? You ever tell him your car's perfect when really there's something wrong with it? How do we assume, or why should we assume that what he's telling us is accurate? And to be fair, it could be accurate to what he's telling us, but how do we then trust the dealership giving him the quote that they have everything involved and they're not going to hit him with something like taxes and fees when he gets to the dealership on Saturday? Because again, on a Chevy Trax, to be $1,500 off, something's missing.